Day 70. Deuteronomy chapter 1 and 2. This is about Moses reminding the people of Israel of God's laws, their history, and their covenant with him, before they entered the Promised Land. After 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, a new generation had arisen, and Moses wanted them to understand why obedience to God mattered. First, Moses reminds the leaders of something God commanded them. Do not show partiality in judging, here both small and great alike. Do not be afraid of anyone, for judgment belongs to God. This instruction is deeper than it appears. God was telling Israel that justice must not depend on status. The poor person deserves to be heard just as much as the wealthy one. The quiet person deserves attention just like the influential one. But notice another part of the instruction. Do not be afraid of anyone. Fear can corrupt judgment. Sometimes people avoid telling the truth because someone powerful is involved. Sometimes people bend rules because they want to please someone important. But God reminds them, judgment belongs to Him. This whisper speaks to teachers grading fairly, leaders making unbiased decisions, parents resolving conflicts between children, and even friends listening to both sides before concluding. And there is a comforting part of this instruction too. Bring any case too hard for you, and I will hear it. God understands that humans cannot solve every problem. Some matters are simply too complex. In those moments the message is simple, bring it to Him. When life presents cases too difficult to judge, God invites us to seek His wisdom. Later, Moses recalls a painful lesson Israel had to learn. God had warned them not to go into battle because He would not be with them. But the people ignored the warning and went ahead anyway. The result? They were defeated. This is one of those spiritual truths many people overlook. Good intentions cannot replace God's presence. Sometimes people move ahead with plans simply because they feel determined. But determination without divine direction can lead to unnecessary defeat. How many times have people rushed into decisions, jobs, relationships, investments, confrontations, without truly seeking God's guidance? The Israelites thought they could fix their mistake by trying harder. But God had already said, do not go. The lesson here is quiet but powerful. When God says not now, moving forward can still lead backward. Seeking God isn't only about asking for success. It is also about listening when He says wait. Soon we read when God tells them, you have made your way around this hill country long enough, now turn north. Imagine wandering the same region for years. The same landscape, the same dust, the same frustrations. Sometimes life feels exactly like that. People repeat the same patterns, same mistakes, same fears, same doubts. But God's message to Israel was simple. The season of circling is over. It is time to move forward. Notice something important. The Israelites didn't decide when to leave the mountain. God did. Growth often comes when God redirects us. There are moments when God quietly says to someone's heart, you've stayed in fear long enough. You've stayed in resentment long enough. You've stayed in confusion long enough. Now turn north. Moving forward with God sometimes begins with one decision, to stop circling the past. In chapter 2, God gives Israel an unusual command when they approach the territory of the Ammonites. Instead of conquering them, God says, do not harass them or provoke them to war, because that land belongs to the descendants of Lot. This instruction teaches something many people struggle with today. Not every opportunity is meant for you. The Israelites were heading toward their promised land, but that didn't mean they were allowed to take every land they saw. God had already assigned that territory to someone else. In life, it can be tempting to compete for everything: positions, influence, recognition, possessions. But sometimes the wisest move is restraint. God's people were strong enough to fight the Ammonites, but strength does not mean permission. One of the overlooked forms of obedience is knowing when to leave something alone. Sometimes peace is more powerful than conquest. Later, God tells Moses, this very day I will begin to put the terror and fear of you on all the nations under heaven. Notice the timing. Israel had not yet conquered these nations. The battles had not fully begun. But God was already preparing the hearts of their enemies. Fear was spreading ahead of them. This reminds us that God often works invisibly before results become visible. While people pray, wait, and sometimes worry, God may already be arranging circumstances behind the scenes. Doors begin opening quietly. Hearts begin softening. Situations begin shifting. The Israelites could not see the fear spreading among the nations, but God could. For anyone seeking God today, this is deeply encouraging. Just because you cannot see progress does not mean God has not already started working. The early chapters of Book of Deuteronomy may seem like simple recollections of Israel's journey, but hidden within them are whispers that still guide believers today. Be fair in judgment because justice belongs to God. Do not fight battles God has not authorized. Stop circling the same mountain when God says it is time to move forward. Respect what God has given to others, and remember that God may already be working ahead of you. For anyone seeking direction, know this: God not only leads his people forward, he teaches them how to walk, and sometimes the quiet whispers of Scripture become the clearest directions for the road ahead.